Hey folks, Colin here from Sumthins Recording, and today I want to show you two ways you can mix mono piano or keyboard tracks to sit them in the mix. We're going to be looking at mono keyboard tracks today, but before we dive in, if you're ready to go a little bit deeper into the mixing process in its entirety and really start to hone your workflow as an engineer, then I have just the thing for you. It is my 7-step mixing checklist, and it's just a simple PDF that will walk you through the entire mixing process step by step to help you get professional and radio-ready mixes without the hassle and without any more guesswork. It is a completely free guide, and you can download it below using the link in the video description. Now let's jump in here and look at these keyboard tracks. This is a mix I've been working through here. I've got most of the guitars in, the bass, the drums, and a little bit of percussion in. I'm working on these keyboard tracks here, and I wanted to show you a couple different ways you can deal with mono keyboard tracks here. So we've got a mono piano as well as a mono organ. Now in a perfect world, right, our organ and our piano would be stereo, right, to mimic that kind of real life feel you get when you're sitting down at a piano. You get a little bit of low end more on your left side, a little bit of more of the top end comes out, the brightness comes out on your right side. And you want to hear that when you put on your headphones and you're hearing piano in a mix. A mono piano gets eaten up by a mix pretty quickly, especially if there's a lot of guitars, doubled guitars like we have here. And a mono organ doesn't quite feel right sitting in the center of the mix either, right? You want it to be a little bit wider to give it kind of that pad feel that you can pull up. You want to feel the organ spread across the mix. So I'm going to show you a couple different ways you can deal with mono keyboard elements here. But let me play you the mix as it stands at the moment, and then we'll start pulling up these keyboard elements here. Things are cooking along here, so let's get these keyboards in. I'm just going to hit play here. I'll probably flip into mono so I can pull up these levels. We'll pull up the piano here first, kind of get it sitting where we want it volume-wise, or at least balance-wise. Same thing here with the organ. Let's get these in. That's feeling pretty good there. Now that sounds all right if we're in mono here, but let's flip back to stereo and see what's going on with our keyboards now. Lost quite a bit of energy in them, and the piano's feeling a little bit too busy to be sitting right in the middle, right? That's definitely going to fight with our vocal. But our organ lost a lot of power because it's not spread wide. When you hit stereo, you want your organ to spread out wide with the rest of your tracks here. So first way we're going to talk about that you can take care of mono piano, mono organ tracks like this is just to pan them. So what we're going to do here is we're going to pan our piano to the left, and we'll pan our piano or our organ here to the right. So now we're going to pull these back down, flip back to mono here, and pull them up once more. So our volume is going to change a little bit because we've panned them. They're not sitting right up the middle anymore, and our piano is not going to fight with our vocal anymore when we do get our vocal in, because it's not going to be sitting right up the middle. It's going to be off to the side. It'll be something there to tickle your ears. All right, let's pull these up here now that we have them panned. So our piano's left, our organ is right. That's feeling pretty good there. You notice we had to pull our piano up probably about 3 dB or so higher. Same thing here with our organ. We're sitting around negative 3.8 and negative 6.3 here on our organ. Let's flip back to stereo here, and we'll make any final volume tweaks to our two instruments here. Hear how much more bigness we have in the mix now? It feels a lot more full, it feels wider, and it feels bigger as a song than it did with the piano up the middle and the organ up the middle. Both our instruments feel bigger too, especially the organ. It feels a lot larger than it did if it's just up the middle, and it has to be tucked back so it's not taking over our mix or fighting with our vocal. There's only a few things in the mix that I usually have up the middle, and that's kick, snare, and bass. If there's one guitar, one vocal, I'll put the guitar and vocal up the middle. But we got stereo acoustics, stereo electrics here. Lead guitars I'll put up the middle as long as they don't fight with the vocal. But mono piano and mono organ that are cooking all the way through the track here, those do not need to be in the middle fighting with our vocal. One more time here, I'm going to hit play, and I'm going to flip these back both towards the middle. Pay attention to how some energy comes out of our mix when we flip our piano and our organ back into the middle. So when these mono instruments just sit straight up the middle like this, we lose a little bit of life in our mix. It doesn't feel as wide and it doesn't feel as big. When we push these both out to the side, you can hear each instrument so much better. It sits where it should sit, right? Kind of on the sides rather than straight up the middle mono instrument. We spread them. It feels like a little bit more natural for each instrument, and it helps the mix feel a little bit bigger. So we'll start here on the sides. I'll flip them back to the middle, and then we'll spread them wide one more time here. Hear how much more open our mix feels when we push these out to the side. When they're in the middle, it's fine. It doesn't sound bad. But once we throw our lead vocal in, we're going to have to pull that piano especially down a lot farther so it doesn't fight with our vocal. He's really cooking away here on this piano part. It's a really nice part, nice honky-tonk feel to it. You want to be able to hear all that. And if it's fighting with our vocal right there in the middle, you're not going to be able to hear all that. We're going to have to pull it down so our vocal stays out front. Panning it to the left like this allows you to pull it up so it tickles your ear and it's not going to fight with the vocal. We leave the middle open for our vocal there. Now, second thing we're going to do here, we're going to take our organ here. We're going to duplicate our organ track completely. So I'm going to mute the organ here. This is the second way you can deal with mono keyboard tracks. I'm going to mute our piano for the moment as well. What we're going to do here with our organ track is we're going to come over here and we're going to flip it from a mono track to a stereo track. This doesn't make the actual organ part stereo. All it's doing is changing the track to a stereo track. So if we hit play here on our organ, still a mono organ part. It's just on a stereo track now. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our organ part here and we're going to add, where is it at here? Our analog delay. We're going to throw this on here. And we're going to put it after here. So after all of our processing here on our organ, we're going to add a splitter. So in Studio One, if you click this little guy up here, routing, you can grab a splitter. We're putting it after our processing. We're going to make it a channel split. So that means one side is the left channel and one side is the right channel. So we're going to take this analog delay, throw it on our right channel here. All we're going to do is delay this channel by 35 milliseconds. So we don't need any of this stuff. No high cut, no low cut, no drive. We'll talk about the time in a second. All this stuff can be set to normal. We won't need any width from it. And we want it to be 100% there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to set our time. So all we're going to do is 35 milliseconds. We're just going to delay this channel by 35 milliseconds. That way it's going to give us a little bit of difference of the sound coming out of each side. That's all we're trying to do, trying to trick our channel into thinking there's something different coming out on each side to make it stereo. Because the same thing coming out on both sides is just big mono. You're just going to hear it straight up the middle because that's what mono is. Same thing coming out of both speakers there. So let's take a listen now that we have this analog delay in and see what we got. A little bit of a volume difference there with the analog delay in, so just pulled the right channel down by about 4 dB there just to get it closer to where the left channel is sitting. So now we've got a stereo instrument, right? So now what we can do is we can pull this channel down. One last thing I'm actually going to do though, I'm going to put an EQ after everything here and just make sure we don't get any funny business going on. Just cleaning up our low end there, since we've doubled this track, so we get a little bit more of that low mid energy coming out of our organ. Something to keep in mind, right, when you double the track like that and duplicate the signal coming out of two sides like that, you're going to get a doubling of the frequencies on the spectrum. So trimming out a little bit more of this low mid area with a high pass, just so we don't have a ton of low end coming out stereo. Now I'll pull this down and we'll put this back into our mix here. Adding some new life to our mix there, right? Our organ track is spread out a little bit wider. It helps keep the track open in the center there so we don't have something right up the middle, especially in organ, right? You get kind of that low mid mud coming from your organ. You don't want that sitting right up the middle there. So it opens it up a little bit, spreading it left and right. And if it's too wide for you, don't hesitate to pull in like a binaural pen or something and just narrow it up, even if you go to like 75, 76 here. So if it gets too big for you, you can always narrow it up. But those are the two ways that I usually use when I'm dealing with mono keyboard tracks. The first way I always try, especially if there's more than one keyboard track, is I try panning them left and right. Just like doubled guitars, right? Pan one left, pan one right. Same thing here. We're going to pan our piano left, organ track to the right. Organ tracks, especially anything kind of pad element, I will try this kind of stereoizing on. So just throwing an analog delay on the back end here using our splitter function inside of Studio One, and then a little bit of processing afterwards. So the analog delay is just delaying our right channel by 35 milliseconds. If you don't have Studio One or any kind of splitter plugin like that, all you have to do is duplicate the track and then delay one by 35 milliseconds, and then you can pan them left and right. I hope that was helpful for you. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, if you're ready to take your mixes to the next level and really start dialing in your workflows in Engineer, then I have just the tool for you, and it is completely free. It is my 7-step mixing checklist, and you can download it below to start creating more professional mixes in less time. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.